my biggest piece of advice for someone looking to get started in midterm rentals is to not furnish it like a short-term rental. Midterm rentals do not need to have the same luxury furnishings that a short-term rental does. It will kill your budget so quickly to furnish a midterm rental with the same pieces that you would in a short-term rental.
What's up, guys? Welcome to another episode of Invest Iowa. Today we have Amelia with us. Is there any company representing you?
Amelia Joe Properties, LLC.
And she has a lot of experience with midterm rentals, which are completely different from what I've heard from you to short-term rentals, right?
Yeah, there's a couple key differences in there that make midterm rentals very different than a short-term rental.
Well, first of all, thank you for coming. Thank you for accepting the invite.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.
Yeah. I see that your social media is growing as well as your portfolio.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm most active on Instagram. My Instagram is Amelia Joe REI. And I've been active on there for about 2 years at this point.
Yeah, makes sense. I feel like you're very consistent. I've seen it. Talk to me about how do you get where you're at right now?
So just a quick backstory. I started investing in buy and hold rentals in October of 2020. I bought a triplex, did a BRRRR.
But before, like, how did you buy that triplex? Did you have a W-2? Were you self-employed? What were you doing at the time?
Sure. Yeah, so I had a W-2 as a project manager, and I had done a flip with my parents. So I was looking for somewhere to invest my profits from that flip. And I somehow stumbled across Bigger Pockets, and at the same time realized that flipping was not something I wanted to do full time just because of how much time and effort it takes. So I realized that buy and hold rentals were going to be the way that I was going to invest that money. So I started investing in a small town in southern Iowa, and that's how I purchased and found that triplex.
Okay. So you buy your first triplex. That was your first property.
Yep.
All by yourself.
Correct.
Wow. Okay. And then did you house hack? Did you?
Nope, didn't house hack. Like I said, it's in a small town. I live here in Des Moines, Iowa, and so I did not want to live in a small town. It's also my hometown. So didn't house hack it, didn't know a ton about how to own a rental property, but I learned as I went.
Okay. And after that, after the triplex?
Yeah, so after the triplex, I BRRRR'd that property very quickly. So buy, like, rehab, rent, refinance, repeat, in case you're not familiar with the BRRRR strategy, and purchase a quadplex 2 months after that. So I quickly had 7 doors in my portfolio within 2 or 3 months.
Wow, that was fast.
Yeah, but keep in mind it's also small town Iowa, so prices of properties are not super expensive. So the triplex was $78,000 and the quad was $130,000.
Oh, okay. But was it your priority to get a cash flow thing going?
Yeah, they both cash flow well. I think the triplex cash flow is around $900 a month, and the quad is like $1,500.
Oh, that's pretty good.
Yeah.
Especially in a small city, in a small town.
Yep.
You have a better advantage. So, how do you scale to? Did you say 30 plus doors?
Yeah, so then very quickly after that, I partnered with my parents because they were like, wow, I can't believe you're buying these cash flowing rental properties. We want to get in on that as well. So we purchased a portfolio of 8 doors together after that. So I had 15 doors. Then I found a partner through Instagram, a silent equity partner who I purchased an 11-unit apartment complex with here in Des Moines. And that's where my midterm rental journey started.
Okay, midterm rental. Now let's get into the meat of the bone, right? What is a midterm rental?
So a midterm rental is a furnished 30-day stay or longer. They typically last around 3 months, and they're typically targeted towards traveling nurses. So a fully furnished, that includes all furniture, includes utilities and Wi-Fi, minimum of 30 days. Typical is 90 days, but it can last anywhere up to 6 months.
Why does a nurse need a place to stay?
That's a good question. So these are traveling nurses, which means they're coming in from different cities and getting these contracts at different hospitals because they're making 3 to 5 times more than they would at the hospital in their own town. So it's very lucrative for them to travel. But to qualify for the housing stipend, they have to stay within the city that they're working in. So they need midterm rental housing.
Okay, that's where you come in place.
Yes.
What is it so convenient about what you're doing that they like?
Everything's provided for them. All they have to bring is their suitcase and themselves, and they can just move right in. So it's super convenient. It's becoming very, very popular. So the demand is rising. Travel nurse demand is rising. That therefore midterm rental demand is also rising.
So when we started the podcast, you mentioned the difference between a short-term rental and midterm rental. Besides the time that you stay, what do you say are the biggest difference that you see in those type of deals, those type of businesses?
Yeah, so the furnishings, midterm rentals are not nearly as luxury as short-term rentals. They're not based as much on reviews. Short-term rentals, your reviews are everything, so it's very customer service based. I would say if you're going to be a short-term rental host, you have to be a very good customer service representative because you want to keep your guests happy. The management is a lot less with a midterm rental because they function more like long-term rentals than short-term rentals. There's not nearly as much contact with the guest as there is with a short-term rental, etc. But you're still seeing very good cash on cash and cash flow on a midterm rental that's better than a long-term rental.
I see what you're saying. Mm-hmm. How do you get in touch with these nurses?
Yeah, so there's a couple places. I would say the number one place is Furnished Finder. It's a website that's specifically for traveling nurses. The other is Facebook groups. There's lots of Facebook groups out there that are specifically for travelers. Airbnb, I do list on Airbnb, but you set your minimum stay to 30 days, so you're only booking those longer stays. And then word of mouth. If you have a traveling nurse that has a good experience with you, I give them $100 to refer somebody else to take their place when their contract is up.
That's such a good strategy. What percentage of your portfolio does traveling nurses make?
So I have 8 of 36 units. I don't know what the math is on that.
Okay, that fair enough. That gives me a good math. What do you see it? Do you see that this business is profitable? Do you see it going away in the future?
No, I actually think that it's ramping up. Because with COVID happening, a lot more younger people, I think, are becoming digital nomads or they can work remotely. So I see a lot of younger people moving from city to city and they're staying in these midterm rentals, 3 months in one city, then they go somewhere else. Traveling nurse demand is not going down. It's steadily increasing. So I think that the demand will keep rising. As far as profitability, yes, they're very profitable. I would say they're the happy medium between long-term and short-term rentals in terms of short-term rental has really high cash flow, but it's also really time intensive. It's very demanding. Long-term rentals, your cash flow isn't nearly as high, but it's not very demanding at all. So midterm rentals are right in the middle.
I see. So is this business sustainable because they receive the stipend? So the moment the stipend will go, will the stipend ever be in danger of disappearing?
No, never completely disappear. It has gone down a little bit since COVID, but in my particular situation, a lot of my midterm rentals are in a multifamily. So if they were in a single family property, I would be much more stuck at a certain number that I had to charge for rent to make sure it covered all my bills and everything. But with my multifamily, I can adjust my price because I have 11 other units that can pick up the slack if I need to lower the price to get someone in.
You have that flexibility of the vacancy.
Correct.
Gotcha. Now, what are your expectations? So when you get a nurse comes into your as a lead, right? What is that process? What applications do you use? What CRM do you have? Like, how does that look like?
Yeah, so they come in, a lot of them come in through Furnished Finder, and Furnished Finder is just a lead generating website. It doesn't function like a property management website. So once I get the inquiry from Furnished Finder, I have them apply through Tenant Cloud, which is the property management software that I use. So that runs a background check and a credit check. From there, we sign a lease. If they pass, they pay the deposit, they pay rent, and then I have keypad locks on all of my midterm rentals. So a lot of time I don't even meet them or ever see them. They get the check-in information, they get my welcome packet, and that's it.
Wow. Okay. And then is there any other property management application that you use?
Tenant Cloud handles it all, so you can do
Tenant Cloud.
Tenant Cloud. Yep. So there's lots out there. I mean, there's apartments.com, which is free. There's Avail, Rent Ready. There's tons, but Tenant Cloud is the one that I use.
How do you manage your payments?
They collect payments through
They
Tenant
collect
Cloud.
payments. It's pretty much everything.
Yeah, it's everything.
Okay.
Yeah. So
From your perspective, are you allocating a lot of your time towards these midterm rentals?
no, I wouldn't say so. I would say that, unless I have a vacancy, I spend very little time on my midterm rentals. And the reason being is because these tenants are also, they're kind of professional tenants, I would call them, because they're used to traveling around and staying in different places. They're used to renting properties, so they kind of know the drill. It's not like an 18-year-old or a 20-year-old who's never rented a property before that doesn't know the process. They're used to it. They know how it goes, so I really don't spend that much time on them.
Okay. And for real estate, what are your goals for 2023? Where are you trying to grow?
Yeah, so I have the WIRE community. It's Women Invest in Real Estate. We host retreats. We have our podcast. We have courses. So just growing that has been awesome. And I want to purchase 10 more doors within 2023. I actually don't want to get huge as an investor. I really just want to focus on maximizing the properties that I do have and making more money with those.
Gotcha. Even if that means you're selling a specific property to buy into multifamily?
Yeah, so that's actually something I'm working on right now. We have a single family that only makes around $300 a month in cash flow, but it's got quite a bit of equity in it. So we plan on selling that this spring and 1031 exchanging it into a larger multifamily.
For those who don't know, 1031 is the way that you defer taxes from one property to another. So the capital gains that you make in one property go pass on to the next property that you buy within one tax year, right? Is that?
Yep, exactly. And that's not to say you wouldn't ever have to pay those capital gains tax.
Right.
But if you die and you leave it to your family, then they do go away. But, that's a long time off, hopefully, for me. So.
And by that time, you're probably going to have a trust, and that's a completely different
exactly.
conversation.
But,
okay, so talk to me about WIRE community. Like, what does WIRE stand for?
Yeah, so it's Women Invest in Real Estate. I co-founded it with my friend Grace, who's also an investor from Iowa, but we actually met through Instagram, which is crazy. And we host free monthly meetups for women real estate investors that are virtual. We bring in a different speaker of a different topic every single month. They're awesome. They're really fun. We also last year started hosting in-person retreats. They're more intimate. It's a chance for you to be around 20 other like-minded female investors. Those are great. We also have a podcast. It's Women Invest in Real Estate. And then we also have a course, 2 courses. One is on self-managing your properties and one is on midterm rentals because it's becoming such a popular thing. So we've worked on that and that's super fun as well.
Wow. Okay. So what do you see that going in the future? Is education your main goal with this?
Absolutely, yes. Education and having a safe place for female investors to grow, learn, feel like, connected with other investors. We'd love to keep hosting 3 or 4 retreats a year. We would love to host a conference eventually. But yeah, those are kind of our plans for it.
You made it seem pretty simple when you talked to me about buying your first property being a triplex. Like, what were there some struggles into that decision? Because you made it seem like, I just bought a triplex, right? That's not a conversation that most people have on a daily,
Yeah, absolutely. I remember sitting at a game with my boyfriend actually and saying, oh my gosh, what happens if they actually accept my offer on this triplex? Like, I don't know anything about owning or managing rental properties. But they did accept my offer, and I truthfully I'm a Google University graduate. Basically, I Google everything. So I just Googled my way through it. It was a whole process. All 3 units actually needed a decent amount of rehab, which I did myself. I actually took a week off of vacation from my W-2 at the time to get those done.
A handy woman.
Yes, I am a recovering DIY investor. Yes. But that was super fun. I learned so much. I would tell anyone looking to get started that you will learn so much more just by doing your first property instead of reading all the books, watching all the videos, etc.
Wow. It's triplex and then fourplex. And that within 2 months?
So I closed on the triplex in October of 2021, and then I closed, or 2020, gosh, the years are crazy.
Yeah.
October 2020, and then I closed on the quadplex in December 2020.
Wow. That was this, did you have some capital saved up? Did you just find the deals? Did you seller finance these? Like,
No, so I had some profit from the flip that I had done with my parents. So I used that for the triplex. I think I purchased it for $78,000. My down payment was 20%. So let's say that was $16,000. And then I did a BRRRR. So I got all of my money back from that, pulled it all back out.
in less than 2 months?
Yeah, because the bank was aware.
Appraiser?
Yeah, the bank knew that that was my plan.
Okay.
Yeah, so, and it was a small local bank, Midwest Heritage Bank, in case you're in Iowa and you're local, you're looking for a lender. But I also had some of my own savings that I used as well. I actually bought the quadplex from the same person as the triplex. It wasn't for sale, but at the closing table when we walked out, I said, hey, I know you own that quadplex too. Would you want to sell that to me? And he was interested, so that's how that happened.
Okay, I see.
Yeah.
What are some advices or things that you've learned throughout this year's investing?
I think one thing definitely is this is kind of random, but hire a bookkeeper sooner rather than later. That's one thing that I definitely didn't do and I should have. Even if you only have one property or one, door, get that process in place before you've gotten too big for your britches. I feel like I grew so rapidly. I didn't have very good systems and processes in place. So now I'm like trying to go back retroactively and put those processes in place. And it's a lot harder when you have 36 doors to do that instead of one door. So
I see what you're saying.
yeah. A couple others, like I said earlier, just get started. It's scary, but I'm a worst case scenario type of person. So I always think, what's the worst thing that could possibly happen? The worst thing is, for some reason, I can't make this property work. I can either sell it, I don't know. There's lots of options. So
Yeah. When did the opportunity of doing midterm rentals knock the door?
yeah, so that happened when I purchased that 11 unit in Des Moines. I had kind of heard of the strategy, and that was in August of 2021. So I had kind of heard of the strategy through Instagram. So I was like, there's 2 vacant units in this 11 unit. Let's try the midterm rental strategy with one of the units and see how it goes. And I had it booked immediately. It was I posted it on Furnish Finder and I had a tenant lined up the next day.
Wow.
So then I was like, okay, that's awesome. The second vacant unit, let's do that one too. And immediately got it filled. And then we had a third opening. So we converted a third unit and it just kind of steamrolled from there, I guess.
And now all of those units are doing midterm rentals.
Yeah, nope. So there's 6 out of the 11 at that unit at that building that are midterm rentals, which I kind of like because the long-term tenants cover my pity, my utilities, etc. So I have that stability with them.
No matter what.
Knowing that my expenses are covered every month. Yeah.
Smart.
It's a really good location too in Des Moines if you're familiar. It's right outside of downtown. It's right across the river on the south side. So it's very close to all 5 of the downtown hospitals without being in downtown and struggling with parking, etc. So it's perfect for traveling nurses.
So from 1 to 5, based on your experience, I'm going to tell you different style of properties, and you're going to rate them from 1 to 5. Ready? Okay. Single family.
1.
Multifamily.
5.
Commercial.
5.
Residential.
3 depends on what it is. Residential could be a 4-unit multifamily, which
Fourplex?
3 or 4.
Triplex.
Triplex?
Yeah.
3 or 4.
3 or 4.
Yeah.
Is there anything that I'm missing? Anything that I'm not looking at?
Land.
Land? Oh, yeah. What are your thoughts on land?
I think it can be very lucrative, but it's definitely a long-term play. So if you have time, for sure. But if you're looking for quick returns, maybe land isn't your best option.
Not your cup of tea.
Yeah.
At the moment.
Yeah.
What are your expectations with your midterm rentals for the upcoming years? Anything big happening?
Just continuing to turn units as they become vacant. So, like, I do enjoy having the long-term tenants at that 11 unit, but if any of them move out, I'm going to continue to turn them into midterm rentals. And then in Des Moines, I'm specifically looking for 10 to 20 unit multifamily properties that have a good location so that a few of them could be midterm rentals.
Which is, it could be challenging at times, right? Especially Des Moines being rather small.
Yeah, that's actually funny that you say that because I was just thinking, I have another property that's a midterm rental and also it's a short-term rental. So it's in Clear Lake, Iowa. I'm not sure if you're familiar, but it's a very touristy town in the summer for locals. I get lots of guests from Des Moines, etc. But there's also a hospital in Mason City, which is about 15 minutes away from Clear Lake. And they have a high demand for traveling nurses. So in the winter,
stay booked all year round.
So in the winter months, October through April, it's a midterm rental. So I currently actually have a traveling physical therapist, not a nurse, staying in it through April. And then May through September, it'll be the short-term rental. And then we'll just go back to the midterm rental cycle.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, because in the winter, we wouldn't make anything in Clear Lake on a short-term rental. But it's awesome to have it as a midterm rental.
Wow.
3
takeaways that you get from midterm rentals.
So 3 takeaways, and the reason why I love midterm rentals, the cash flow is higher than long-term rental. So if you are in a high cost of living area specifically, and the numbers are not working for you for a long-term rental, midterm rental could be your way to finding a cash flowing property. 2, the tenant quality is so much higher than any other kind of rental property. These are professionals, business professionals. We didn't even touch on corporate housing or contractors or anything else, but there's lots of businesses that use midterm rentals. We just talked about traveling nurses, but tenant quality is higher. And 3, there's less wear and tear on your property. These people are just there to eat, sleep, and go to work. They're not having crazy parties. They're not doing anything rambunctious. So, yeah, those are my takeaways.
Wow, that's super cool. How do people reach out to you if they have any questions? They want to get into your wire community. How do they get in touch with you?
Yeah, so I'm pretty much only active on social media on Instagram. It's Amelia Jo REI. And then our wire Instagram is wire with 2 eyes.community.
Wow. Thank you so much for sharing all that knowledge. That was very interesting. I didn't know. I did know that there was midterm rentals. I will still consider them short-term rentals, and I'm sure people don't know that.
Yeah, no, they're not short-term rentals. I guess sorry, I could go forever, but one last thing I would add about midterm rentals is they're really great for getting around short-term rental regulations in cities. A lot of cities are starting to crack down on short-term rentals and either limit the number of short-term rentals in a city or limit where they can be at. Midterm rentals are not technically considered short-term rentals because they're 30 days or longer, which puts them in the long-term rental category. So they don't have the same regulations as a short-term rental, which is great.
Wow.
Yes, but you still make a lot of money off of them.
So, but you get a higher net.
Absolutely. Like, I'll give you an example. So my studio's in Des Moines. Long-term rent's $700. I charge $1,300 for my midterm rent, so I make $600 more per month. Multiply that by the 6 units in that one building, and that's what, $3,600 a month more.
Almost like 60% more, 70% more.
Yeah, it's insane. So it's almost double what I can charge a long-term tenant. So that's just a little example.
Wow.
Yep.
That's so smart. You're so smart.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you for making it this far in the video. If you want to learn more about midterm rentals, short-term rentals, well, here's the expert. And Thank you for making it this far. Like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys on the next one.